Yo, we're back for another episode. You ready to do this?
Yeah, I'm pumped, man.
Dude, so you told me this morning you felt like you've been run over by a train.
Yeah, no, I'm super sore, man. I'm sore in places I've never even been sore at.
So let's go backwards. You've been training the last 3 months for this local CrossFit competition called Thunderdome, and a lot of stuff went on, man. You've had a lot of great epiphanies and great takeaways that I wanted to talk about on this episode, but tell me about it. How was this 2-day CrossFit competition?
It was awesome, man. I was actually very impressed with the staff and the way they put it on. Everything from the actual game day leading up to it, they did a pretty good job. They did a good job at staying engaged on social media. You know, they'd say, "Hey, if you can give us 100 likes and 100 comments, we will release the next workout." Right.
Nice.
So
this is leading into
this is
weekend.
this is leading up to the weekend of the competition. So they did. I really like that. They were trying to make it as close to the games as they could. They were leaving clues and stuff like Castro does. But now it's cool. I signed up, a decent amount of time in advance, so I could train for it. And I was training. I signed up at least 3 months prior to the actual contest. So the process of training was awesome for it. I definitely took my training up another notch due to the fact that I had something to work towards. And so fast forward to the day of the competition. Now it was good, man. I learned a lot. I got a bunch of takeaways. We can get through later down the road. I did it as a team. It was me, 2 other buddies from our gym, and it was a good time.
How do you think some of the teams stacked up? Because this is a conversation we have a lot. When you start creating divisions in these competitions, it makes it really tricky because there are some athletes that are in divisions that are much easier than they should be in, and vice versa. There are some athletes that take dead last place in that division, and maybe they overreached. So how do you think that went? Were there teams that completely crushed other divisions?
Yeah, there really was. There's got to be some sort of testing, leading up to the competition on where you should stand. They do the movement standards list. They release those in advance. But, there was definitely a lot of people, especially that middle of the tier thing, which is what I did, intermediate.
Yeah.
It was super stacked. There was 27 teams.
Holy moly.
In my division, and was probably the most of the entire competition.
Yeah, and that's what I hate about some of these local competitions. And, I get why it happens. One is they're trying to market and appeal to everybody, and the only way to do that is to create certain divisions so it's almost inclusive. But there's a reason why some of the best CrossFit competitions in the U.S., the 2 that come to mind, Wadapalooza, which is in Miami, which is, I think, one of the biggest in the U.S. right now, and another one that's really big is the Granite Games. And both of those competitions do online qualifiers, and the online qualifier is the best way to separate the categories, because the only way to make it into that division is to qualify online for that division. So there's no guessing. These people are in the right divisions where they need to be at. Unfortunately, these other smaller competitions don't do it, so you're always going to have that issue. So that's one of the things that I think sucks about these competitions, because there's a guy who's obviously in a division he shouldn't be in, and you're crushing yourself to move as fast, and you just can't. Can't.
Yeah, no, definitely. They got to kind of find that way to put people where they should be, for sure.
Yeah, the other thing that you had mentioned, which was interesting, is you talked about there's a clear distinction between people that train for competition and people that just train for general fitness, because we're honest and we're clear that our population that we like to work with is the general population, but there's definitely a big difference between the general pop and these that are really working for competitive fitness. What did you say?
Yeah, no, definitely. You can kind of distribute CrossFit into two different ways. It's the competitive CrossFitters and sometimes that could be intimidating to people that are just looking to get into shape. Hey, I'm trying to get into shape, I'm looking into CrossFit, and then they'll do a little research, and then the games athletes pop up where you got these men and women that are super muscly, huge, and they're like looking like superheroes, right? That's the competitive CrossFit, okay? But then if you dig a little bit deeper, you see that CrossFit is truly scalable to any region of fitness, no matter where you're at. But it's definitely, you can definitely capable of separating that into two different categories. And
so where does that separate itself with training? Like, did you feel like you were training? Because, I mean, you still took a lot of classes, general classes here as part of your competition, and then there were days that you spent with your teammates, right? What was that happy mix for you guys?
Since I signed up for the competition so far out, I feel like I still could enjoy the group class, right? But the closer I got is when I started taking less group class and started focusing more on the competitive aspect of training. And the day of the competition, I felt like an athlete, right? I felt like this is competition. Anything goes. Like, no matter how banged up you feel, like, I was still going to give it my all, right? Now, change it to the general fitness side. If you feel banged up a little bit, you're going to take a day or two off, right?
Right.
Or you're going to slow down. The day of the competition, there was no slowing down. It's like, what's that slogan that you put up all around the gym and the bathroom and stuff in regards to on competition? In training, you listen to your body, right? In competition, you tell your body to shut up.
Shut up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Froning,
good.
Yeah,
that's Froning. And, that's a perfect segue to get into what we're going to talk about a little bit later. But it was a completely different feel of training for general fitness, to look good, to feel good, and then training the weekend of the competition. I personally feel like I really did thrive through that competitive setting, because that's what I did in high school. That's what I did growing up in sports. I love that feeling.
Yeah, it's a pressure that you can't mimic anywhere else but within the competitive competition that weekend, right? You can try to simulate it as much as possible, but at the end of the day, you are tested when that moment begins. And we talked about you thriving. There's a lot of adversity that your team had to deal with. One of your teammates got hurt, so you had to sub somebody else in. Some of the strategy, you went in with a strategy in the middle of the WOD, recognized that you're going to have to change that. And what we try to tell individuals here, especially the general population, is that there's an expectation that we as competitive athletes understand is going to happen. It is going to get hard. Something is not going to go the way you want it, but you have to recognize, no matter what type of athlete you are, how are you going to respond? It's not, we hope that this won't get difficult, is that we recognize at one moment it will get difficult, and we have to learn how to respond to that respectively.
Yeah, and then the true competitors, when that moment hits, it's like you either fold or you rise to the occasion. Man. And it, like, just to go back in time, like through this weekend, I literally just remember looking around me, and like the harder and deeper we get into the workout, the more pressure like the workout builds up, like the better I got.
Wow.
And people are crumbling. Like, I showed you the video of the yoke carry, like that 400-pound hits, and people weren't carrying that thing more than 15, 20 feet at a time, at least around me. And like, as my teammates bringing the yoke back, the 400-pound yoke back to me, I can't wait to get underneath it, right? I can't wait to get underneath it. And dude, like, I never felt anything like that. Like,
well, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Like, leading up to the first event, like, I'm putting on my shoes, like I'm putting on my football cleats. Like, I'm putting on my headphones to warm up, blasting, good rap music and stuff to get me amped up. Like, I'm in the locker room banging my helmet against the wall or the locker to, like, run out onto the field. Like, that's exactly how I would put it, Like, the pressure of the competition is how I felt going into a game in high school. And, like, I literally never felt that. And what's also cool, I want to add in, is my parents came this weekend.
Oh,
right?
nice.
And
they don't see you work out here.
They don't really see me work out at all. So they were kind of they were out in the dark. They didn't know what to expect.
And your mom trains here, so she knows CrossFit, but she's never seen you do it to that level.
She knows the general. She's in the Masters class, right?
Right.
So what's the goal with the Masters? Get them, to move well, to stay out of nursing homes. The general fitness we talked about. She has no idea what the competitive aspect of CrossFit is, right? Like, she has no idea. So it was awesome for them to go watch me, and like they were super proud of me. And I look back, like this was the first time they've gotten to support me on something like this.
Freaking cool.
Since probably my little brother graduated high school. He graduated 2013, I believe. So that was the last time they watched us compete in anything like that.
Wow,
so like their fire was relit of supporting their son compete like that.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, it brings back a lot of amazing memories. They spent your entire childhood supporting you and doing that, and you said that's.
It's been easily, it's been years since they've got that feeling to see their child compete in a sport. But yeah, like I said, man, that's what like my biggest takeaway is like. I thrived because I was a previous athlete. I was a good football player. I was a good baseball player. I played in a lot of big time games. Like baseball, my senior year, we made it to the state Final Four both games and played in very, very close games. I played AAU baseball. I played, varsity football where I've made the playoffs. Like I've, been through that big time pressure before.
Right.
And a lot of these other guys around this CrossFit competition, I don't think they have, and
interesting.
Like,
it's a really good point.
They might have went all, high school without playing a sport, and they get into this CrossFit thing. Like, wow, this is fun. Like, let me try a competition.
Right, or they're doing so well in their gym, but they haven't really gone beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that you can train that competitive spirit that you have? Like, what, or do you think it's in us? Or maybe, I'm not trying to lead the question, or maybe it's a mixture.
I'd say a mix. I'd say if you don't have it, you could definitely train it by like putting yourself into uncomfortable situations to where like train uncomfortably, put yourself in these scenarios that could be relatable to a high pressure situation. So you can train that, and at the same time, like if you already have it, I feel like you can build it. You can build it, and then.
Well, I think what's other interesting, and this is this kind of transition that Rich Froning had as individual to team, is that they are two completely different monsters. The team aspect, you have to depend on other people as well, and there has to be a high level of communication going on at all times. That's nothing, you don't have to deal with either of those things as an individual competition, but you don't also get to experience the excitement that comes with doing something together. So yeah, it's interesting. I think you have to, depending on what the goal of the individual is, if they moved out of individual to team, you have to train them differently as well, because sometimes these workouts are creative to test the team cohesiveness, not doubt. Just like let's do 100 reps and good luck. Like there's some strategy that's involved through that process as well that you really don't have to deal with on your own. Like if you fail on your own, it's your fault. But like taking that accountability as a team it's tough. It's a much tougher.
Yeah, no, if I were to be able to go back, I would have liked to train a little bit more together, the three of us. I feel like we could have built a little bit more chemistry and would be more aware of each other's strengths, each other's weaknesses, stuff like that. We had a good idea, and we kind of came up with a strategy, but we didn't really test the workouts like we would have liked to, because they released the workouts a decent amount of time in advance. So out of all 6 or 5 workouts, we only tested one together, right? So if I'd go back, I'd say, hey, let's try to train a little bit more as a team. But yeah, no, you're right. It's an entirely different ball game. When you're with a team, you gotta determine the transition time, like how far away from you are you before you have to tag your person in.
Every second counts.
Is it good to transition more but be more fresh when you're doing the movement, or transition less but keep moving but you get tired? It's an entirely different ball game, man. But to kind of wrap it up, I'm kind of leaning towards maybe doing an individual next time.
Nice. That was going to be my last question is, would you do it again?
Yeah, I definitely do it again. I'm hooked, man. Like, I'm not gonna do one like every month or nothing like that, but like it's definitely
once a year, twice a year. You think?
Yeah, I might just do the ones you just named.
Yeah.
You know, Granite Games,
They're
Wadapalooza, and
the
Thunderdome.
They're the
like,
best.
Those would be my 3 right there. You know, three a year. I think that. I mean, how do you could compete it back in the day, right?
Yeah, I did. I mean, the joke now is I'm retired, but yeah, I think you can do wall training 2 to 3 comps a year and be okay. I mean, if you're doing 3, that's every 4 months, right?
Yeah.
So, but as you recognize, there's a lot of wear and tear, and there has to be deloading, and there has to be a lot more strategy involved in the randomness the variety that we have here. So definitely, I love what you said, that model, and I think that can almost be a model, Brett, where like the further out you are from competition, the more group classes you should take. But the closer you get in, as time gets compressed, closer to the comp, the more strategic you have to be, and the more maybe you do have to step away from group. But what I hate is I hate extremes. I really do. I don't think one person should just always do open gym, and I don't think one person who's competing should just only do group classes. And it's finding that magic balance for each individual to be able to feel like the outcome is productive, that what you did, you know that what you did was better than doing nothing, that you guys getting together when you did, talking about strategy, you guys performed better than if you hadn't met at all and done that. But as you recognize, it still wasn't enough. So what is that balance?
Yeah. Group class is fun for me. So like leading up to the competition, I didn't have the pressure like, oh, this competition is coming up, you know, like I was going into it like I'm going to give it everything I got, but I'm going to enjoy the process of, you know, training for something, but it's not going to be so crazy that it's really going to affect my life, like my normal everyday life.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about it all the time. You know, a lot of these local people, they think they're going to go to the games, right?
Yeah.
I'm not in denial, you know, like I've been in CrossFit for going on 2 years next month, which is kind of crazy, right?
I don't think we've ever said this on air. 450,000 people registered for the Open this year. And they're only going to take, let's say, 300 overall, and the top 50 male and top 50 female in the general division. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, you got to be a realist, and that was my philosophy the whole time. Like my mindset the whole time.
You're not like trying to take first here and then try to go to the games next year.
Yeah, no, I wasn't like that at all. You know, I'm at the competition. I'm talking to some of the teams. A lot of people that think they're games athletes, you know, are too dialed in, warming up, like they're not trying to talk.
They're eating broccoli right before.
Like some other is like, you know, personable. Like, you know, I'm there to show like I can still compete. I have that mindset. I'm a good athlete. I'm gonna give it my all. Just show everyone I still got it. But yeah, man, I'm not gonna go to the games.
Yeah, come on. No, but I think ultimately, like, you learned so much about yourself this weekend that you haven't tested in a really long time, and it also was a confirmation to yourself about a lot of the unique qualities that make you great as an individual and that make you successful. And that's what these competitions do, and it's why we try to encourage our general pop to go out there, go run a 5K, go try something outside, go play a new sport, because you really don't know what you're made of until you do that. Because our group classes are the most convenient thing for group. Like, we create perfect rep schemes or simple rep schemes with beautiful equipment that they can do. Like, that stuff is easy when compared to the unknown variable of competition, of what's going to happen on game day. You really don't know what you're made of until you go do things like that.
Yeah, that's why whenever the Open comes around, like, we're trying to pitch it to every single one of our members. Just do it. Give it a shot. And what I'm really big on is it's a date on the calendar, right? You know this date's coming. So you take your training up a notch. You know, get to that next level knowing there's a date on the calendar that you either got to work towards and get better, or you show up on game day when you half-ass your training and like you look like a fool pretty much. Like, you're making yourself vulnerable by signing up for that. That's why as soon as they release the Thunderdome workout, you can sign up the week of if you wanted to.
Right.
You know, you could sign up the week of. I was like, hell no. Like, they released it, I said, let's sign up.
Because it was going to make that more serious for you.
It makes it real. It's like, hey, once you're signed up, it's a completely different ball game. It's like not just talking about, hey, I might do it if things are looking good and I feel good, I'm training good, I'm going to do it, right?
Right.
Because then it's easy, on a Friday night when all your friends are hitting you up to go for a drink, it's like, hey, if you're not signed up for a competition or anything, you can go do that. Why not?
Right.
But it's like, hey, you know what? I got other priorities. I'm committed to this event. Like, hey, man, you got to go out without me this weekend.
So that's our challenge to you guys. If you look at the past 3 months, 6 months of your training and you haven't really competed at something, what a great opportunity to kind of do a self-check on your current level of fitness, to challenge yourself a little bit, because otherwise, man, sometimes it feels like Groundhog's Day. You're doing the same thing over and over with no real commitment to anything.
Yeah, just don't catch yourself going through the motions. Commit to something, and like the absolute worst case scenario is you probably get 1,000 times better than you were before.
Worst case.
Yep.
Anyways, well, we'll see you at the games next year, Bretsky.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk to you guys soon.
See you guys.